agent. Employer sponsorship visas today. So in employer sponsorship visas, we are going to cover 482, subclass 482, subclass 186, under direct entry stream, subclass 494, and subclass 407 visa, and DAMA agreements. So I will start with the 482 visa. In 482 visa, the 482 generally you can get up to 4 years. And this visa is a three-stage process visa. So your employer, you need an employer, by the way, to lodge any of this visa application, including 482, 186, 494, and even under DAMA. So under 482, the first step is to apply for a sponsorship. Now this has to be done on behalf of the company. So an Australian company that wants to sponsor you will apply for a sponsorship. That is that they are approved to be a sponsor for this particular visa category, where your employer will have to provide the business registration documents to prove that they're operating lawfully in Australia. And we'll also have to provide a business financial document just to justify that the business is financially stable. And once this is approved, the sponsorship is valid for 5 years. The next step the business will have to do is apply for a nomination. In the nomination application, the company will have to advertise the position, and generally, unless it is exempted, will have to do a labor market testing. And after the labor market testing, the company will have to apply for a nomination. During the nomination, the company will also have to provide a position description, explanation on that the position is genuine, an employment agreement between the applicant and the company. And the company will also have to justify that the company is paying a market salary rate to the sponsored employee. Once this is done, the company will have to apply for a nomination with all these documents. And during the nomination application, the company will also have to pay something called SAF levy. Now, what is SAF levy? Is a Skilled Australian Fund levy, which is part of the nomination application that the company will have to pay. If the company's turnover is less than 10 million, the company will have to pay 1,200 per year. And if the company's turnover is more than 10 million, the company will have to pay $1,800 per year. Now for the next step is the 482 visa, actually, which is done on behalf of the applicant. So in this 482 visa, the applicant will have to qualify for this visa as well. Now there are certain requirements for the applicant to qualify for it, which is obviously the first thing is that your company must have sponsored and nominated you for this particular position, and you must have a relevant skills and qualification for that particular occupation. Also, there is an English language requirement. Now, if your occupation is on a medium and long-term list, you need at least IELTS 5 each equivalent. Or if your occupation is on a short-term list, you need overall 5 in IELTS with no less than 4.5 in any module. And you also have to meet the health and character requirements. And also you need to prove that you have at least 2 years minimum full-time work experience in last 5 years. And there is no age requirement for this visa. So that's the great thing about this one. Now, if your 482 is approved, obviously you have to make sure that you work with the company, and you can only work in the nominated occupation. And you must not cease your employment for more than 60 days. And if you do so, like if you leave the job, you have to ensure either you organize some other visa, or you have to ensure that you find another sponsor and ensure that that sponsorship is also approved for you to commence work with them. Now, if your 482 is granted in a short-term stream, you get maximum 2 years visa. If your 482 is granted in the medium and long-term stream, you get maximum 4 years visa. And if your 482 is granted in a labor agreement stream, you get maximum 4 years visa. Now, once you have the 482, you have an option that if you're on a medium and long-term list, you get 4 years visa. And then once you work 3 years with your company on a 482 visa, and if your occupation is still on a medium and long-term skill list, then you can apply for a subclass 186, which is our next topic, next visa subclass. So if you have worked 3 years with the company on a 482 visa, you can apply for a 186 visa under temporary resident transition stream. Or you can also apply for a 186 direct entry stream. Again, your occupation must be on a medium and long-term skill list. You must have minimum 3 years of full-time work experience a positive skills assessment, and you must be under 45, and you must have a competent English. So you can also apply for a 186 direct entry stream if you have followed these things as I mentioned before. And if you have worked on a 482 visa, you don't really need the skills assessment. You just have to show that you have worked 3 years with your company on a 482 visa. Now, 186 visa is a permanent visa. So once you get this visa, you can work anywhere, obviously, with your company. It can be in metropolitan area or a regional area as well. You can also bring your family with you. You can enroll in Medicare. You can apply for a citizenship once you qualify. And you can also, you have to make sure that you meet health and character requirements for this one. Now, there are 3 streams for 186. One is a direct entry stream, as I mentioned. If you have 3 years of work experience, minimum 6 each in IELTS, which is competent English, and if you have a positive skills assessment and 3 years of full-time work experience. For temporary resident transition stream, if you are on a 457 visa or if you're in a transition arrangement, you will only have to work 2 years. So if you held a 457 visa, or if you were an applicant for a 457 visa on or before 18th of April 2017, you can apply for a 186 visa under temporary resident transition stream under the grandfathering rule, where you just have to ensure that you have worked 2 years on 482 or a 457 together combined. And if you are on a 482 visa and you got your 482 visa only, never had a 457 visa, in that case, you have to work 3 years with your company and your occupation must be on a medium and long-term list. Whereas if you are in the grandfathering rule, your occupation does not have to be on a medium and long-term list. And the last stream is a labor agreement stream. So labor agreement stream is for the candidates where the standard pathways under direct entry stream, temporary resident transition stream, or any other sponsorship pathways are not available. That's when the company can choose to apply for a labor agreement. And if your company's labor agreement is approved, the labor agreement would identify the occupations, number of people they can sponsor, and the terms and conditions of the labor agreement, such as like how many years of experience you will require to sponsor, and what would be the English requirement, what will be the age requirement. All those things will be mentioned because you can have a concession under the labor agreement stream. Now, as I mentioned, under direct entry stream, you must have a positive skills assessment, competent English, 6 each, and 3 years of full-time work experience in your nominated occupation. And your occupation must be on a medium and long-term list. In employer sponsorship, temporary resident transition stream, you must have worked for 3 years on a 482 visa with your company. Now, under the new changes recently made and starting from 1st of July, if your occupation is on a short-term list, and if you have been employed during the COVID period, which is February 2020 to December 2021, and if you were working for your company for at least 12 months on a 482 visa during this period, then even if your occupation is on a short-term list, you can apply for a subclass 186 visa under a temporary resident transition stream. But be mindful, this is only available to the candidates who are on a 482 visa, who cannot apply for a 186 visa in TRT stream or a direct entry stream because their occupation is on a short-term list. Those candidates can apply for a 186 TRT stream only if they were on a 482 visa and employed by their employer between February 2020 to December 2021 for at least 12 months. And you must have been employed during the COVID period here. Basically, this is what it means. And the next visa subclass is a subclass 494. Now, subclass 494 is a regional sponsored visa. So your employer must be located in the regional area for them to be able to sponsor you. Again, there are 4 steps for 494 visa. The step 1 is a sponsorship. Your company will have to apply to become a sponsor. Once your company is approved to be a sponsor, then your company can apply for regional certifying body, which is called RCB. Your company will have to justify that they have done the labor market testing, which is advertising the position and try to look for an Australian citizen. Your company will also have to provide their business registration and financial documents. They will also have to provide an explanation on a genuine need of the employee and position. And then they will also have to provide an employment agreement and an evidence that whatever they are paying you is according to the market rate. The next step is applying for a nomination. where your company will have to nominate you for a 494 visa. And in 494 visa, again, your company will have to provide similar documents that I mentioned in RCB, which is again labor market testing, the company's business registration documents and financial documents. The companies will have to provide an evidence that they've done a labor market testing. They have to provide a position description. They will have to provide an explanation on genuine need of the position. Once the nomination is lodged, the next part is the visa application, which is done on behalf of the visa applicant. Now, in this category, in 494, the requirement is quite similar to the subclass 186 direct entry stream, where the applicant must have a positive skills assessment. The applicant must have a competent English, which is IELTS 6 in each, and the applicant must have at least 3 years of relevant work experience. Now, this visa is not a permanent visa, but it does lead to a permanent visa. So this 494 visa is granted. Once it's granted for 5 years. Then you are required to work for your employer for at least 3 years before you can apply for a permanent category. Now, once you work with your company for 3 years, you can apply for a subclass 191 visa. Now, subclass 191 is a permanent visa. What you need to prove is that you have worked for 3 years with your sponsor. You have lived 3 years while holding a 491 visa in the regional, for 494 visa or 491 visa, while holding a 491 or 494 visa for at least 3 years in the regional Australia. And you must have held this visa for 3 years. You must have lived and worked or studied as well in the regional area. Your taxable income on this visa must be at least 53,900 or more. And you must have complied with your 491 or 494 visa condition. And once you apply for a 191 and once that's granted, that's your permanent visa. Then you can work, live and study anywhere in Australia. You can also enroll in Medicare and other government benefits. And you can also sponsor another eligible relatives like your partner or parents. And you can also apply for a citizenship. And the last topic about this before we jump on a quick question and answer session is DAMA agreements. Now, DAMA agreements are only available in following areas for a 482 visa, which is the Goldfields WA, which is city of Kalgoorlie, Boulder, Northern Territory, the entire Northern Territory state, Great South Coast Victoria, which is Warrnambool City Council, Adelaide City and Regional South Australia, the entire areas. Orana in New South Wales has also got a DAMA approved, and Far North Queensland Cairns Chamber of Commerce has a DAMA agreement. Now, in DAMA agreement, there is one more step that your company will have to apply with the regional body where they're operating. Like, let's say if they're operating in Goldfield, then they will have to ensure that they're operating in Goldfield for at least 12 months and meet the requirements set out by the Goldfield authority, and then apply for a DAMA agreement with them first. Once you get an approval with the regional body, then you have to apply for a sponsorship and nomination. Now, again, the sponsorship and nomination is pretty much the same as the 482 visa. Now, the benefits of DAMA is that there are a lot of occupations like even truck driver or accountants or bookkeepers and accounts clerk are included in this DAMA agreement. For example, in Orana, DAMA agreement, they have an accounts clerk and bookkeeper. So if you can't really have any other option to get your permanent visa, you can utilize the other pathways like DAMA through employment in these regional areas where the DAMA is available. Now, DAMA is available also to the applicants who do not meet the age requirement, depending on the areas. You can also apply for permanent visa after completing certain years of employment with the company under 186, and the applicant can also request for a lower English language requirement, less work experience, and a lot of let's say exemptions that you can opt for under DAMA agreements. Again, your employer must obtain a DAMA agreement before you can apply for the visa. So they will have to apply for an agreement, nomination, sponsorship, and then your visa application. Now, you might have to meet the certain requirements for the visa depending on the categories, because if you have got the DAMA agreement, and if your employer, sorry, I'm just pulling out the questionnaires now from everyone. So uh, under the DAMA agreement, as I mentioned, that you can utilize a lot of occupations that you cannot utilize in any other pathways. So that's the advantage of using the DAMA. Now I will start working on questionnaires. So I will ask my colleagues to help me with the questions. And once I get it, I will probably help you answer your questions. So can I have the team from marketing to please help me with the questions? Just for the delay, I think we're just waiting for our marketing team to get back to us with the questionnaires. Yeah, in the meantime, I'll probably go back and cover more about certain parts that we can probably cover. Now, there is one more visa called subclass 407. In the subclass 407, it's a training and research visa, and your company will have to prove that there is a legitimate training that is available for you. And this 407 visa is only not to justify a skill shortages in the business, but it is for more of to actually showcase the Australia's training skills. So in this 407 visa as well, the company will have to provide an evidence that the company has got an approval for a sponsorship. Then the company will have to also provide a training plan for in the nomination. And during the nomination, the company will also have to provide an explanation on how the company is going to conduct the training, what will be the assessment criteria of the training, etc. And the last part is the visa application for a training. In the visa application, the applicant will have to provide that they have proved that they have at least 12 months of work experience in last 24 months. So unless they have that, you cannot continue to, you cannot meet the requirement. But once you have the 12 months of experience in last 24 months, you can apply for 407 visa. Now I will move to questionnaires. The first question is from Anas, electrical engineer, technician, NSW 491, 70 points, living in NSW. I'm sorry, but this session is about subclass 186. So I would like to request everyone to please keep the questions related to 186 because this session is completely for subclass 186. Now I'll still answer your question. Electrical engineer, technician, 491 SW, 70 points. You have to make sure that you meet the minimum criteria that is mentioned for your occupation, which is minimum points and the number of years of experience. If you do meet that, yes, your chances are really great because NSW will have a good chances to invite 491. And now after a lot of people have received an 189 invitation, the backlog has cleared up. So definitely there are a good chances that your invitation can come through. The next question is from Rosie Rose. Hi, how long is the processing time for a subclass 186? As we can see, invitations showering yesterday. I want to know if is there any other option. I am chef and have applied for 186, don't have 65 points. So if you have a skills assessment as a chef, and if you have already applied for a sponsorship, then your chances is still good because if you have already applied for 186 visa, you will get the approval very soon, and the processing time right now is about approximately 6 months. So if you can share more details about when did you apply for your nomination and visa, we can help you out with this information. The next question is from Rajan. We apply 491 state nomination from WA in 75 points, nearly 2 years. We live here, graduate from Sydney, and we have not got the invitation yet. Applied in August. See, if you have studied in Western Australia, then your chances are better. But if you have not studied in Western Australia, then you should try and increase your points, because right now what we have noticed is the cutoff for candidates in your occupation is around 80 or 85 points. So I would highly recommend that you try and see if you can reach those points. The next question is from Kirandeep Kaur, 189 developer programmer, 80 points. Kirandeep, you should try and increase your points, because the cutoff at the moment for your occupation is at roughly around 85 points or so. So yes, you still have a good chances, but at the same time, you should try and increase your points. Just looking for more questions. So if you do have a questions, please feel free to put it in your comment box here. The next question that I have is Rohan Sharma. I work in the mining sector in regional WA as a cleaner for 4 months now. Would I be eligible to apply for a 494 visa? Company turnover is in $1 billion. If you are in North Queensland, then yes, you have an option for a DAMA, but you have to check whether your occupation, as in the cleaner, is available in that particular region or not. And otherwise, cleaner cannot be sponsored unless it is under DAMA agreement. So yes, that's all about the 482 and 186 and 494 visa. I believe if you do have any questions, please feel free to put in your questions in the comment box, and we will aim to answer your questions as soon as we can. And we thank you for joining us today, and we wish you a very happy weekend and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.